Prince Harry has finally reunited with his father, King Charles, after more than a year apart. Now, Harry has been in the UK attending a number of different events over the past few days, including the Well Child Awards and an event at Imperial College in London. However, he did find time in his busy schedule to swing by Charles's UK abode, Clarence House, where the father and son duo are understood to have sat down for just under an hour over a cup of tea. How very, very civilized. The last time that Harry and Charles came face to face was in February 2024, shortly after the King revealed that he had been diagnosed with cancer. At the time, Harry is understood to have made a rush trip over to the UK. However, he and his father met for just a matter of minutes before Charles moved on to other events in his schedule. This time around, things seem to have been a little bit more cordial. Still, Harry was only at Clarence House for 55 or so minutes, according to sources who saw him arrive and leave. Harry pulled up at Clarence House in a blacked-out SUV and made a very under-the-radar exit at around 6:10 p.m. local time. Now, for those of you who may have forgotten, Harry and Charles's relationship has been in a state of extreme strain ever since 2020, when Harry and his wife Meghan Markle announced that they were stepping down from their roles as senior working royals. The duo made the announcement on social media and are understood to have let the public know about their decision at around the same time that they let the royal family in on the secret. Now, Harry and Meghan have embraced a number of different projects since they moved to California, including a number of different initiatives with Netflix. Those, of course, include Meghan's recently released series, With Love, Meghan, which stars a number of her celebrity pals in the lifestyle-style show. Chrissy Teigen's taken part. We've had celebrity chefs taking part. However, one person who has not been on screen that much is Prince Harry, who is understood to have taken a step back from his wife's projects so that the two of them could pursue individual careers. Now, even though Charles and Harry have sat down, we are as yet unclear on whether they have taken any steps towards mending their relationship. Although rumor has it, Harry is quite eager to get back into the bosom of the royal family, at least where his father is concerned. Because let's not forget, relations between Harry and his brother Prince William remain incredibly strained. The two brothers are understood to have barely spoken since Harry and Meghan left the royal family, and as yet there's no word on whether Harry is going to find time to meet with his brother, or whether William will make time for his sibling. It's a real shame because Harry and William have both welcomed multiple children with their respective wives. Now, of course, Harry and Meghan have Archie and Lilibet, while William and Kate Middleton have George, Charlotte, and Louis. Who could forget his cute face? However, the cousins have barely spent any time together. In fact, it's currently unknown which of the siblings have actually met their respective cousins on the other side of the Atlantic. William and Kate have not made a trip over to California with their kids since Harry and Meghan have moved, nor has Charles even seen the home where his son and his wife are living. So, fingers crossed that Charles and Harry's tea time at least helped a little bit to, let's say, thaw relations between the father and son duo, and may well have served as a small step towards a reconciliation between Harry and William.
My friends, welcome back to the Royal Sussex Squad, the one place where we shine a light on the truth and cut through the smoke, mirrors and recycled gossip that the British media continues to serve up about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Today we're diving deep into the latest round of so-called bombshells. This time not from a palace insider, not from a top-level royal aide, not even from a working member of the family, but from a former butler. Yes, you heard me right. A man whose job was literally polishing silver and pouring tea is now positioning himself as some sort of authority on Harry, Meghan, and the future of the monarchy. And, of course, the British tabloids are more than happy to hand him the megaphone. We're talking about Grant Harrold, who worked as a butler for King Charles between 2004 and 2011. He has a new book coming out called The Royal Butler. Now, if that doesn't scream opportunism, I don't know what does. He's doing interviews, pushing recycled palace gossip, inserting himself into royal family history as if he was sitting in on private meetings between the king and his sons. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. His job was to stay quiet and invisible in the background, but now he's spinning stories as if he were the central figure in the family drama. And let's be clear about the timing here. His book comes out September 23rd. So every word, every soundbite he drops is designed to stir controversy, to grab attention, and to cash in on Harry and Meghan's names. If he wrote a book about polishing silverware, Nobody would care. If he wrote a book about organising the royal pantry, it would sit untouched on the bargain shelf. But slap Harry and Meghan's names on the cover, and suddenly it's news. That tells you all you need to know about the exploitation of their names and stories by people who barely knew them in the first place. Now let's address the meat of his so-called revelations. First, he claims that King Charles doesn't trust Harry because of what Harry has said in interviews in his memoir Spare and through Netflix projects. But hold on, since when did telling the truth about your own lived experiences equal betrayal? Harry did not fabricate tales. He laid bare the struggles, the pain, the betrayals he endured, often at the hands of the same institution that was supposed to protect him. If Charles feels uneasy because Harry spoke his truth, that's not on Harry. That's on Charles. And for Harrold to act like he has insider access to Charles's current mindset is laughable. He hasn't worked for him in well over a decade. Then there's this ridiculous spin that Harry and Meghan's media project somehow rule them out of re-entry into the royal circle. Well, let's stop right there. First of all, Harry and Meghan don't want back into that toxic royal circle. They left for a reason. They built a life of freedom, independence and service on their own terms in California. They are thriving, raising their children in peace, building careers, helping causes that matter. Why would they want to crawl back into an institution that suffocated them, smeared them, and nearly broke them? Harrold is still clinging to this outdated fantasy that every royal must want to be part of the firm. The Sussexes have made it abundantly clear they don't need it. And then, of course, comes the old, tired narrative. Everything changed when Meghan came along. How many times have we heard this nonsense? The implication, of course, is that Meghan is some sort of manipulative force who brainwashed Harry. But let's flip the script. Could it be that Harry found someone who opened his eyes to the dysfunction he had been raised in? Could it be that Meghan, with her independent spirit, her compassion and her humanity, gave Harry the courage to choose love and mental well-being over outdated tradition and endless duty? If Meghan was the catalyst for Harry finally seeing the truth, then bless her for it. That's not destruction, that's salvation. Harrold even had the audacity to claim Meghan thought royal life would be like being a Disney princess. Now let's pause. Meghan Markle was a grown woman, an actress, a successful woman in her own right before she ever met Harry. She had lived in Hollywood, worked hard to establish herself, and had already engaged in humanitarian work long before royal life entered the picture. She knew exactly what hard work looked like. The idea that she naively thought life in the palace was going to be tiaras and glass slippers is insulting, sexist and racist dog-whistling. It reduces a strong, intelligent, accomplished woman to a cartoon stereotype. But of course, that's what people like Harrold and the tabloids love to do, diminish Meghan so they can justify the cruelty she faced. Then comes another recycled anecdote. Meghan allegedly wanting to have lunch with her friends on a day she had a royal engagement. First of all, these schedules are planned months in advance, and Meghan was known for her work ethic, her dedication and her energy. Do we really believe she just blew off duties to have lunch with her friends, or is this another case of palace staff twisting normal human behaviour into scandal? Why is it that when Meghan set boundaries or sought balance it was treated as defiance, but when other royals do the same it's called modernising? Double standards, my friends. Harrold also tries to paint William as the saviour who will modernise the monarchy, while simultaneously claiming Harry and Meghan are the problem. The irony is rich. The monarchy is struggling not because Harry left, but because it is out of step with the modern world. The Wales family is not going to save it. You cannot modernise an outdated institution by trimming the family tree and pretending everything else is fine. The monarchy is crumbling because of its refusal to accept accountability, its cruelty towards its own members, and its toxic relationship with the British tabloid press. And let's talk about this so-called closeness between William and Harry that Harrold witnessed back in the day. Yes, they were close. Yes, they shared laughs, rides, pints at the pub. But families grow, relationships evolve, and sometimes they fracture. To pretend that Meghan is the sole reason for that fracture is lazy and dishonest. There were deeper issues of jealousy, issues of favouritism, issues of palace politics, that drove that wedge. Harry himself has spoken about it, And let's not forget that in Spare, Harry described being physically attacked by William. That's not Meghan's doing, that's William's temper. But people like Harrold would rather blame Meghan than confront the uncomfortable truth about William's behaviour. And of course, Harrold couldn't resist throwing in some gossipy one-liner about Prince Philip saying after Harry and Meghan's wedding, "Thank FK, that's over." Whether that's true or not, it's irrelevant. Harry and Meghan's wedding was a moment of joy, celebrated around the world by millions of people who saw hope, progress and love shining through centuries of stiff royal tradition. That wedding inspired people. It brought communities together. And Meghan walked down that aisle with grace and dignity, despite the storms already raging behind the scenes. A snide joke from Philip, if it even happened, does nothing to diminish that. The reality is this: Grant Harrold is another opportunist, cashing in on Harry and Meghan's names. He wasn't in the inner circle. He wasn't at the heart of their struggles. He is a butler, selling a book by exploiting two people who've already endured years of unfair scrutiny and character assassination. And the media, desperate for fresh angles to keep attacking Meghan and Harry, are happily amplifying his every word. But here's what we know, and what they can't take away. Harry and Meghan are thriving. Meghan is building her American Riviera orchard lifestyle brand. Harry is leading Invictus with renewed strength, launching partnerships and continuing his mother's legacy of compassion. They are raising Archie and Lilibet in love and freedom. They are building a legacy of service that stretches far beyond the crumbling walls of Buckingham Palace. And no matter how many bitter ex-staffers, opportunistic butlers or desperate tabloids try to drag their names, the truth stands tall. Harry and Meghan are not the villains in this story. They are the survivors, the visionaries, the leaders who chose humanity over hollow tradition. And that's why we will continue to stand with them, defend them, and amplify their achievements right here on the Royal Sussex Squad. So, Squad, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this latest round of so-called revelations from a butler-turned-author? Do you see it for what it is? Opportunism, hypocrisy, and another attempt to smear Meghan and Harry? Let me know in the comments below. Ex-royal butler lifts lid on family rifts. Disney Princess Meghan Markle and how there's no coming back for Prince Harry. He polished silver for kings, poured tea for queens, and stood quietly in the shadows as royal dramas played out. But now one witness to the Windsor's most private moments is pulling back the curtain. Former Buckingham Palace butler Grant Harrold reveals Prince Philip's searing four-word verdict on Prince Harry's wedding to Meghan Markle, why King Charles will never again trust him, and William's plan to modernise the monarchy in his bombshell new book, The Royal Butler. The king doesn't trust Harry because of what Harry has said. He worried that he would use it to his advantage. And he has, Harrold told Page 6. He's done what household members typically do and spilled the beans. It's a big thing for the family to have one of their own do this. They were all so close, and to see that relationship completely destroyed, I do not see them coming back from it. Harry, 40, is in the UK this week, where he is rumoured to have an audience with the king. But Harrold warns that his and Meghan's podcast, book and TV deals rule them out of any significant re-entry to the royal circle. If they reconcile, then fall out again, what's to say there won't be another book, Netflix series or interview about it, he asked. Harrold, who was butler to King Charles between 2004 and 2011, when his title was Prince of Wales, said William and Harry were still incredibly close during his service. The two of them were not just the best of friends, they were inseparable, he tells us. At Highgrove, Charles's private residence, they were always together. They were walking together in the pub together, on motorbikes together. Very rarely did they do stuff separately. The former palace staffer, 47, notes in the book, to be released September 23, how everything changed once Harry met Markle in July 2016. As soon as Meghan came into his life, everything changed, Harrold tells Page 6. It could be that Harry had his own awakening and suddenly decided he didn't like the organisation, but the problem is that Meghan was with him when it happened. The biggest change in Harry's life is Meghan. Still, the ex-staffer also believes something bigger happened between Harry and William. I was genuinely shocked when they fell out, he said. There must be something deeper going on that we're not being told. Among various digs at his brother in his memoir, Spare, Harry accused William of physically attacking him and knocking him to the floor, breaking a dog bowl in 2019. He also calls him his beloved brother and arch-nemesis in the book. Still, the brothers were still on good terms when Harry and former Suits star-turned-lifestyle influencer Markle married in 2018. They wed in a lavish ceremony at St George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, with both the late Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip in attendance. Harrold said Philip couldn't resist uttering one of his trademark one-liners to mark the occasion. Once all the formalities were over, we watched as the happy couple and then the other members of the royal family filed out of the chapel. When Prince Philip came out, he turned to the Queen and said, "Thankfully, that's over." It was very funny. I think he was speaking for the majority of people, but he was the man who actually said it. "I was standing opposite him, and it was so funny," Harrold recalled to page 6, sharing an exclusive photo of the moment with us. Harrold added that the comment made the Queen, who passed away in 2022, turn to her husband and grin. Once installed as an official royal, Meghan was seen to be a disruptor. During the less than 2 years she was a working member of the royal family, she quickly became known for attempting to do things her way and putting many noses out of joint. Harrold recalled one instance when the Suits alum, now 44, wanted to host some of her friends for lunch on a day she was slated to carry out a royal engagement. She would rather have lunch with her friends, thinking that was fine, and it wasn't, Harrold divulged, noting the royal schedule is set 6 months in advance. "That's not how it works. You can't change it. She obviously thought she could come in and do her thing, and you can't," he added. "I think the problem with Meghan is that she went into the organisation and she assumed that, after watching all the Disney princesses, that she thought it was going to be like that. When you join the royal family, you are given rules and protocols to follow." Meanwhile, in the book, Harrold says that despite the royal family's admiration for tradition, he expects William, 43, to scrap a lot of the long-standing formalities once he becomes monarch, using his reign to press a reset button and slim down the central figures in the family. The reality is, when William and Princess Catherine's children, George, Charlotte and Louis, become of age and start getting involved, the monarchy will be the Prince and Princess of Wales and their 3 children only, Harrold says. The monarchy will get more fragile as the years go on, and it's changing. It's become more of a celebrity thing than a historical firm. Harry was the first celebrity royal, he added. The Wales family, Harrold notes, will also continue to live without a butler, something William and Princess Catherine, 43, have done for many years. "I wanted to butler to look after William and Catherine, and they didn't want any of it," Harrold said. "They wanted to do stuff themselves. They were carrying their own stuff, doing their own washing up, their own cooking. They are very much still like that. William is very hands-on. To this day, I'm the only one that has ever done any butlering for him." Harrold also notes in his book how working for the royal household can go to the head of some members, and certain people like to throw their weight around. "I learned about the politics within the organisation early on. Some of the staff members can be more royal than royals. The chauffeurs and secretaries in particular," Harrold notes, "saw themselves as better than others. He aptly calls them the men in suits. We were all supposed to work as a team," he tells us, "but there was always that feeling of jealousy. The higher you got, the more people didn't like you. And before we wrap up, I want to thank you all for your incredible support. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep the Royal Sussex Squad going strong, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and if you'd like to show some extra love, consider donating through Super Thanks. Every bit helps us keep spreading truth, positivity and support for Harry and Meghan against the relentless negativity. Until next time, stay strong, stay positive, and remember, love always wins.